Over the many years, League became synonymous with three words: pain, suffering, and grind. Look, they said it themselves. But if there is one thing that may ruin the grinding experience, it's when things get unfair. You may be playing hundreds of games, but every time you win, you gain a little bit less than you would lose when you lose. This alone made a lot of people simply quit the grind. It doesn't matter if it means that your account is not in the rank where it's supposed to be. What matters is the feeling. And that feeling sucks. So, pretty much out of nowhere, on that one awesome place, that once again being Reddit, Riot confirmed that they are working on something that should help with this. And it all sparked from a single post. It feels really awful to achieve your highest rating ever by creating a new account instead of improving. Nobody in Platinum or below can be proud of the rating they have worked for if a new account can get there for free. I feel like I wasted my time with all the grinding I did over the years. Fools on you. I quit ranked many years ago. Jokes aside, yes, this is definitely an issue people have felt over the years. Everyone eventually gets to a point where the grind simply feels unfair. And it feels like if you get a clean slate, with a little bit of luck, if you win a few times in a row, your second account would be placed higher than your main account. Now, what people forget about is the mentioned luck factor. You do need a little bit of luck to actually get decent teammates and to actually win and to actually get somewhere. But with enough games, if you don't actually belong there, you will fall down regardless. That's just something I want to mention first because this will appear later. Anyway, by looking at the upvotes and by looking at the comments, you can see that a lot of people agree with this. Yeah, it's pretty difficult knowing you had to improve and play a lot of awful games grinding to your current rank. And new players literally get placed there without knowing 90% of the game. Again, remember, if they don't belong there, they would fall eventually. They are tuning the matchmaking around Smurfs rather than doing something about Smurfs. There is no way ranks can mean anything when such a large percentage of accounts are Smurfs. See, this is something I actually don't have any numbers for. I would love to see how many Smurfs there actually are. If it is a massive number, then yeah, Riot should be doing something about it. I could be wrong here, but doesn't Dota just ban smurfing? I think they do this because it does ruin the entire structure of the ladder. But then there was also a comment that sparked up Riot's attention. That's why you would use an aggregate skill vector that incorporates multiple factors. See, this comment with a single upvote just referenced something many of you did not understand. Simply said, even though it came out as passive-aggressive, this person suggested that League shouldn't just look at if you win or lose. Maybe it should look at how you win and how much you dominate your opponents. Maybe the better you do, the more LP you get. Which definitely sounds awesome, but it is not as simple as that. For example, by doing this, AD carries and pretty much any carry champion that would have higher scores would always get better LP. And the champions who sacrifice themselves for the better of the team would get less. So the solution is not as simple as this. And to prevent misinformation spreading around, Riot stepped in. And so we got a reply from Riot XR. We are moving to a different proprietary, Riot-made, system at the start of new year-ish. And then tentatively planning on moving to a new system later in the year called True Skill 2. Remember this name, it will be very important in just a second. We are still evaluating on True Skill for now, but it sounds promising. We'll share more info when we have it. There are actually some changes in place for the start of the new split that should help put new accounts at an appropriate ranked placement. And also some other changes that should make getting into a negative LP state much more difficult. The negative LP state is when you lose more than you gain with every game. We'll have to see what actually happens in practice though. I suspect there will be many adjustments or corrections and bug fixes over the course of the year. I am confident we'll be in a better place regardless. So here Riot revealed that they are actually working on this problem. And they will be utilizing something called True Skill 2. More on that in a second, because this one sparked up another reply. -30 +20 issue is a thing because your MMR moves at slower rate than your LP. which you already know. And that created a huge elo inflation to the ladder, which you also already know. For the last 12 years this wasn't a problem. How much money does actually inflating people give so that it is worth sacrificing ranked integrity? I wonder. Are people actually this stupid? Do they actually think making the ranked system worse on purpose makes League money somehow? Do you know what kind of people actually buy skins? Which is the main source of League's income? Let me tell you. It's not the brightest or skilled people. Anyway, somehow this comment also got a reply. No intention to sacrifice ranked integrity. Goal was just to change the rank distribution to something closer to what players should instinctively expect. And here we actually got some interesting stats. Bronze is about bottom 15 to 20%. Gold is about the middle, and so on. It results in ranks being inflated compared to what they previously were in League. But I'd view this as a correction to a poor distribution of players, than something done to make people feel better about their rank artificially. Wait, was the argument that Riot was making the rank system worse so that people would feel better about themselves and so they would be hooked on League for longer? That's not how this works. The argument is that you lose more LP than you gain. I'm just confused now. Anyway, to get to the point where people believe that making a new account and playing a few games on it gives you free platinum, we got another reply. The average insertion point for new players after they finished a few games of ranked is somewhere in silver and will be lower next season. Since this was 3 days ago, I assume he was talking about this season that's happening now. What we have in place now is admittedly poor. New accounts that are high gold or plat are outliers, despite the story that is being portrayed on Reddit lately. That's right, don't forget the fact that every single Reddit user is at least low diamond, but mostly it's master players. It has nothing to do with the fact that they are stuck and they want to get better, but someone else gets into the game, they are naturally better than them, and that makes them feel really bad. Now after this, another Redditor asked about transparency. You know, it would be nice to have proof. Which I don't believe Riot wants to do, because the moment you learn how the ranked system works, that's the moment you can abuse it. That's why nearly no developers ever reveal that stuff. But we still got a reply regardless. We are going to be making a number of significant changes to matchmaking and ranked over the course of the year, mostly in the background. Ideally, there is no reason to create a new account to get to your actual rank. And if you make a new account to Smurf, we can detect that and place you into accurate matches so quickly that creating Smurf accounts feels like too much work for the amount of games you get to smash people. Honestly, that's why I don't have a Smurf account. It's just too much work, man. I don't want to make a new email. But yes, in these few quick comments, we got it essentially confirmed that people are kinda making problems up. Yes, Riot did say that their system is not great, and so next year, or rather this season, we are getting something better. But overall, the problem is not as bad as Reddit is making it out to be. Now, before we move on, there was a lot of people who started mixing different terms. And the entire discussion about this problem turned into massive spaghetti. So, Riot Barack Obama actually gave us the definitions. ELO is a chess rating system. I actually didn't know about this one. It was named after Arpad Elo. MMR is matchmaking rating. This is a number of your skill which the game is trying to match to other people. But then there is League MMR, which is currently based on a Bayesian skill estimation system. This is based on an algorithm called Trait Skill 1, which essentially evaluates your past games and it will try to predict how good you will be for the next game. So to put it very simply, instead of giving you opponents on the level you are currently at, it will give you opponents that are slightly higher or lower depending on how much you win or lose. This way, essentially every game is a confirmation whether you are or aren't good enough. Sounds really scary when I put it like this. But then there is the True Skill 2, which Riot is currently trying to put into League. And this is an estimation system that is simply more accurate than True Skill 1. So now you may be wondering, what the hell is this? A lot of people got probably scared, because the moment True Skill 2 was mentioned, a lot of people freaked out, because this system is often used for first-person shooters. Or really just any shooters. Any shooter with a KDA. And so people started to believe that Riot will give you better LP if you have simply better KDA. Which, as we mentioned, is not ideal in a game where KDA is essentially meaningless. I mean, it gives you gold and stuff like that, but it's not like there are not other ways to win a game. So very quickly, Rioters actually swarmed the people on Twitter and they corrected them. Which thankfully did make a lot of people understand the situation, even though other people still freaked out. So what the heck actually is True Skill 2? True Skill 2 is a system, or rather an algorithm, which I believe is currently patented by Microsoft, and it is used for video games to give each player their real rank. It is not just a number that goes higher or lower depending on if you win or lose. It actually looks at how you performed. Now, the reason why this is mostly used in shooters is because in shooters it is very easy to see how well you are doing. Did you shoot someone? Did you die? That's about it. Bonus points for planting and defusing and winning rounds. But in League, it's not as easy. League has a lot of different objectives. Not only that, it is far harder to carry an entire game in League than it is in a shooter game. This is going to be me very much oversimplifying things. But in a shooter game, every player has a chance to split the entire game into 1v1s and just win everything. It is difficult, but it's possible. In a MOBA, if the enemy team just sticks together and they are ahead, you are screwed. So, when Riot is trying to implement this system into League, it means that they will not be looking at your KDA. I mean, yes, they will do it, but it will be only a small fraction of everything that's gonna be happening in the background. They need to look at your CS, they need to look at your passive gold gain, they need to look at how much of the gold was actually earned by your team and not by you. They need to look at how many 1v1s you won. They need to look at your contribution during team fights. Just imagine going through that spaghetti. And we didn't even get into Barons, Dragons, turret plating, how many turrets you took down, wards, jungle contesting, stuff like that. In theory, if Riot actually puts together a system that looks at all of this, it will be better than what we currently have. That being a system which I believe just looks at if you won or lost, and then it looks at the little rank you got. Which is a very rough estimation of how well you actually did. And so with all of this mentioned, we can now dive into the last comment we got on this. A comment that talks about what kind of changes they would make with these kinds of systems. If we did anything here, the likely route would be to look at millions of games of data and try to identify trends, then use those trends to inform things like seeing calibration of MMR, not LP. It would be highly unlikely that we would go, you have better KDA, here's more LP. Because an expected outcome of that is people playing towards KDA, which might warp the findings anyway. If a significant portion of the server played more conservatively to game LP, and then lost more, we aren't really doing our jobs very well. To cook your noodle, if a significant portion of the server started playing more towards KDA and won more, but the game became more boring, would that be acceptable? Assume playing towards KDA means less bloodthirsty generally. That's right, if you wanna play towards KDA, the one thing you do is you don't die. A single death will halve your score. So yes, if Riot used KDA for LP, that would be quite a twist. But yes, this is pretty much where Riot left us off. So what did we learn here? We learned that the problems with new accounts are not as big as people think they are. The vast majority still ends up in silver or below. Although Riot did confirm that occasionally there may be an issue rising up. And the current system, which helps people gain or lose LP, is not great. So they are introducing something new. And over the course of this year and the next one, playing better should be rewarded more and more. Which means that the grind will start feeling less and less unfair. That is, unless you're bad. Look, that's why I quit ranked. That did not feel good.